Here we are with my old friend, colleague, and Hall of Famer, Steve Flink, immediately after a final that was very strange, in my opinion. I didn't think it was well played. I'd like to know your opinion about. They both were so nervous, so tense, that the beginning was with a team whom I couldn't almost recognize, and the end was with a Zverev I couldn't recognize, but Thiem too, to be honest. So I thought the level was very low compared to those levels we have seen when we saw playing Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and even Murray. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I think they've spoiled us a little bit, Ubaldo, because they're so accustomed to playing those big finals against each other that they don't get as nervous as they did when they were younger. So that's part of the reason. I would say this, Ubaldo, in fairness, in the beginning, up through the first two sets, especially up to a set and 5-1, I thought Zverev played very, very well. Thiem didn't really show up fully. He was not on his game. But I thought Zverev did everything so much better than what we'd seen the last couple of rounds from him. His serve was on. The double faults were not coming that much in bunches. He found a balance in his game. He was better from the backcourt than Thiem. He defended, he attacked, he did everything he was supposed to do. Then he got a little tight at the end of the second, had trouble closing that out, and then he went up the break in the third, and he started to lose his grip on the match. And it changed a lot, right, Ubaldo? Suddenly, Thiem's back in the match, winning the third and fourth sets, and no longer Zverev. And suddenly they switched roles. Zverev didn't play very well in the third or fourth. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. And I think, as you said, that probably the mistake that not many people will maybe think it was that Zverev should have closed the second set 6-1 or 6-2.
Yeah, right.
Because in that case, for Thiem would have been much, much more difficult to think that it was possible to come back. Instead, he got 5-4, he lost 6-4, and even if it was one breakdown, as you said, in the second set, in the third set, well, he thought, well, I can still do it, maybe.
I totally agree with that, Ubaldo. I do. I agree. It's funny, and it's funny how tennis works that way, and both players knew it. They both knew that if Zverev would have finished off the second set quicker, the match might have been over very, very fast. But then, who can explain the fifth set, Ubaldo? It was one of the crazy.
I said, sorry if I interrupt you. I said that it was a script written by Agatha Christie and directed by Alfred Hitchcock, because there was a lot of suspense, but not because they were playing well. There were, I mean, if you go, okay, apart from Zverev being up 5-3 and losing very badly and easily his serve, but then on 5-all he loses again. Then on 6-5 is Thiem who loses his serve. Then they go to the tiebreaker. Zverev is up 2-love, and then he makes on 2-1 he makes the 14 double fault. Then he will make another double fault, the number 15, and that was unbelievable. I think that out of the first 12 points when they were 6-all, including the 2 match points that Thiem wasted, there were 10 mistakes, 10 errors, not 10 incredible, beautiful shots.
You're right. You're right about that. The standard was down by them, but part of it, Ubaldo, was when they went to 6-5 after Thiem broke the second time in a row and he's about to serve for the match. He brings the trainer out because he's cramping. I think he was really getting almost desperate, and I don't think that Zverev was feeling very good either. So part of the reason they struggled in the tiebreakers, I think physically they were both spent. They'd had it. They were lucky it was a tiebreak. They couldn't have gone to 10-all to a 12-all tiebreak like Wimbledon. They were fortunate 6-all.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I just talked also with Zverev, and I did ask him if when he made this decision to serve also the first serves with a lot of, I would say, fear, because it was like if he was fearing to play a second serve since he was making so many double faults. And he answered to me, well, I was also cramping, so I couldn't serve anymore as fast as I would have liked. And but it is also true that already before he was sometimes serving very, you know, I mean, not as good as he usually does. Also on first serves.
But you're right, but that didn't start until the third set. He served really well first two sets.
Yeah,
and he shouldn't have lost his serve at 5-2 in the second either. He had a set easy volley, served and volleyed, missed this easy forehand volley cross court with a wide open court. And I thought he served very nicely the first two sets, then never as well after that, never. But you know, although they were brave, they knew that they would admit that it was not a high quality match from beginning to end by any means, but they were very gutsy. Both players showed a lot of courage, and I did feel a little badly for Zverev to not only be up 2-0 in a break, but then to serve for the match later on. That's so many opportunities. And then even to save the 2 match points and be back to 6-all in the tiebreak, looking like he might pull it out then. So heartbreaking for Zverev.
Yes, true. I mean, he had so many chances. I mean, I don't know, even if he's only 23 years old, I don't know how long it will take for him to forget, because I think it's quite a shock. I mean, we saw him crying during the ceremony, the presentation. He showed a great fair play when he went to hug Dominic at the end of the match, even if the protocol, the COVID's protocol, were saying that you shouldn't do it. But I mean, it was nice and nice gesture. But you remember what happened in 2004 at Roland Garros?
Right.
In that final,
Gaudio proved you wrong. You said Gaudio was going to lose, didn't you? I know I did.
well, everyone thought that Coria was number 3 in the world and was the favorite of that. And then he had won, I think, 6-1, 6-3, the first 2 sets. And then he had 2 match points and he lost. What happened afterwards? That Coria was never the same. After that lost final, he practically disappeared from the top.
Ubaldo, and it's a fair point to make, but I'm a little more optimistic than you are, because I think Zverev never had been to a final. It's his first Grand Slam final. He came so close. He'll be very, very sad for a while, but he'll go to play Paris. I assume he's playing Paris, right? He's playing the French Open?
Yes, he's playing Paris, but also Coria was playing his first slam final. So what I'm saying is, of course, everyone is different, and Zverev said already tonight, I'm only 23 years old, so I have plenty of time to recover, and hopefully to play other slams. But
but Ubaldo, think about it. I remember how badly Murray when he lost his 4 finals, Lendl when he lost his first 4 finals. There was a lot of pressure on them, and people began to wonder if they would ever come through, and then they turned it around. And Murray ended up winning 2 Wimbledons in the U.S. Open. Lendl ended up winning 8 Grand Slam titles. So I think Zverev will get there in the next couple of years, because I think he's a very gifted player, determined. I sure hope so. I'd hate to see another Coria with him. I would hate to see it, and I don't think we will.
No, I do agree. I just mentioned that situation because it was in a way quite similar, you know.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
And let's say the only difference was that Coria then was the favorite, while Zverev wasn't tonight. And then we said that since Zverev had played pretty badly the whole tournament when he was the favorite, we saw that the first 2 sets he played wonderfully. I mean, he played very well.
He did. He surprised you, Ubaldo. I was so surprised, and I actually thought of you a couple of times because I thought to myself, Ubaldo is going to give me a terrible time when we speak tonight. And it's going to remind me that he brought up the fact that maybe Zverev would play his best match. I didn't see it coming at all. I really didn't. And that's what makes it so sad for him, that he surprised everyone, maybe even surprised himself a little bit with the way he finally got off to a great start, but was not able to close it out. So very tough. On the other hand, terrific we should talk about Thiem and what this means to him, Ubaldo. He's been through a lot. He had a 3-set loss to Nadal in the French final, then a 4-set loss to Nadal in the French, and 5 sets with Djokovic this year in Australia. And he'd had some hard times, and this would have been pretty devastating for him as well. But now he finally has his first major, and I think Zverev is right that Thiem will win many more.
Yeah, well, for sure, for Thiem, one thing is to lose to Nadal, who is the best player in the world on clay, or to lose to Djokovic on hard court, Djokovic is probably the best player of all on hard court. Another thing would have been to lose to Zverev once he had beaten him 7 times out of 9, and then especially if he would have lost either badly 3 sets to love, which could almost happen, or even losing 6-3 in the 5th, which also could have happened. And you know, when Zverev went up 2-love in the tiebreaker, I thought that since Thiem was cramping evidently, I said maybe, even if I think it was mental cramps more than physical cramps, I thought that still Zverev had the chance. And when they went 6-0 after, Thiem missed those 2 easy forehand. I mean, I thought, well, I mean, at the end, Zverev may win this tournament, because if he puts first serve in.
I thought the same thing, Ubaldo. That's what made the match so gripping. We can question the quality for sure, but it kept you on the edge of your seat because you just didn't know who was going to win it. And if somehow Zverev had hit that last backhand cross court in the court and won that point, it wouldn't have surprised me at all if he'd come back and won the next 2 points and won the title. It was that kind of a match.
Yeah, let's say that we both said yesterday and the previous days that a lot was depending on Zverev serve, because we were saying if he serves well, is the only way he can beat Thiem. And then unfortunately was betrayed by the serve, because honestly, he not only 15 double fault, but so many first serve which went 80 miles per hour instead of 135. And that makes a big difference.
Well, you know what it makes me think of, Ubaldo? You know more about boxing than I do, but it was like he was a boxer that was trying to knock the other guy out in the early rounds, just put him away. And he was in all the first serves in the first couple of sets, 133, 132, 135s, mixing up second serve, sometimes 90, sometimes 120. And I had the feeling that he lost some steam. He was, with each set, he seemed to serve a little less, with a little less potency. And that hurt him, no doubt about it. It made a big difference because you saw Thiem was standing back by the fence to return his serve.
And you know, when you stay so far behind, if the one who is serving is able to serve external, you know, side, then it's difficult to cover the angle. So I was expecting Zverev to try few more serves on the like that. And strangely enough, on the diagonal, I don't know if you say diagonal in English, but of the forehands, in the first set, the forehand of Zverev was better than the forehand of Thiem, which was unbelievable.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And that's shocking. That shocked me. But he had such good feel on his forehand today. He felt like he could hit it hard and hardly miss it. his forehand was remarkable for a long time. It went off later. It wasn't so great in the fifth set.
Sure.
Boy, the first two sets, it was excellent.
Yeah, and then sometimes in the past, jokingly, we were saying maybe Sascha would need the volley of Misha, but in the first set and second, he was volleying fantastic. I mean, all drop shot volley were incredibly effective with Thiem staying much behind. He could never get them.
Yeah, he served. He was very smart. Served and volleyed, but Thiem never knew when he was going to come in behind that serve, and so Sascha was able to get pretty close to the net, and the backhand volley especially was terrific. Not just the drop volley, but the conventional, the punch volley. Yeah, he definitely in some ways wasted what could have been a fine performance. Yeah, by not closing it out.
Yeah. Well, anyway, again, I am just saying that, those guys, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, were playing since the beginning, since their first slams finals at such an high level, with such a control of their nerves, that they are really of a different planet. I mean, because tonight, these two guys who are the best or between the best players of born in the 90s, they showed really some fragility on the nerves that I didn't expect.
Yeah, you're right. Fragility is the right word. Yeah, you're right. But in Ubaldo, we shouldn't be too tough on them. Let's remember that for Thiem, there was the pressure of finally winning one on his fourth attempt. For Zverev, it was finding himself in maybe a slightly unexpected position of being ready to win this title. And coming in, I don't know if he was sure, but he got himself up to the great start. And so there were reasons for why they were fragile. On the other hand, I think from here, Thiem might get much more comfortable on these big occasions because he has the monkey off his back, as they say. He's now got one major. Yeah. It could be different for Zverev for a while, but Thiem, I think, will be more composed when he plays his next major final. At least I think he will.
I remember said, used for the first, I heard the expression that you just used, the monkey off the back, was your good friend Pete Sampras, when after he won the US Open in 1990, the following year, he was saying that he had, I remember he was saying that, and I'm sure you wrote something about in your book.
I did. It's in the book, absolutely. But you're right, a lot of players talk about that. Martina Navratilova, when she finally won the US Open for the first time, it took her all the way to 1983. That was a long time, considering all the Wimbledon she'd won by then. But she said the same thing. I said, I have the monkey off my back. And it is a relief for them when they finally come through like that. Yeah. And in Sampras's case, it was the opposite because he'd already won the 90 Open. And then he felt such pressure to defend it that when it was over and he lost to Courier in 91, it was like, oh, I can forget about that now. And, he knew he could move on. But for Thiem, this is a big deal, Ubaldo, don't you think? It's very important.
I do think, and now I'm curious to see, as we said also yesterday, how Rafa Nadal will perform in Rome, because if Nadal is not at the top of his form, Thiem could be considered maybe the favorite in Paris, because
I also think, depending on his psychological state, and I think he's going to be fine, that Djokovic, who hadn't lost all year, and he hardly even looks at the loss to Carino Busta as a loss. He knows he just got himself in trouble and was disqualified. So he still hasn't really been beaten. So, and I think he's won the French before, and he's come close so many other times, including last year when he lost to Thiem in a close 5-setter in the semis, that I think we can't count him out either. I think it could be a very interesting three-way battle with those three guys, depending on the draw. I think they all win it, but where I think you're right is Nadal don't you think he needs a good Rome? He needs matches.
Yeah. He needs matches
Yeah,
and you know especially he needs to go over the first two rounds because then
yeah,
he will
yeah.
probably find his form. But
Right.
if he has a bad draw and he has to play somebody difficult in the first round in his first round because he has a bye on the first round, then he better be careful.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're right. You're right. I mean, he's going to be a little nervous because unlike the other guys, Ubaldo, he really just was training. He didn't even really play any exhibition matches. So he's been gone for a long time, Rafa.
Yeah, he said he was going fishing all the time.
Okay. Well, I
So,
hope it helps to
you hope,
relax. Yeah.
yeah, you hope that he gets bigger fish on tennis courts.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
It'll be interesting because, as you know, Ubaldo, it's true that many years he would start off in Monte Carlo and win
yeah,
Monte Carlo and then dominate on the clay. But there's some years when it took him a while to start playing his best on clay. He needed 2, 3, 4 tournaments, and then by Roland Garros, he was ready. This year, he's not going to have that luxury. It's really just going to be Rome, and then
yeah,
he has to be ready for the French. It's not going to be as simple as orderly as it usually is for him. He won't have that routine.
yeah. Well, we'll see. Team probably will have this week to recover mentally. I mean, he will probably. I don't know if he's going back to Austria or is going straight to Paris to relax and practice. In Paris, situation with COVID is getting worse. And today they had more than 10,000 people gotten in troubles with the COVID. So. The news coming from Paris are not good at all.
And
So
then what does that mean in terms of Ubaldo Scanagatta's plans for covering the
look,
French?
I'm really uncertain. I think since I have to confirm whether I go or not go tomorrow before noon. I mean, now I can say today before noon. So that means in 8 hours. I think I'm going to confirm, but I will look until the end what's going on because I'm not crazy to commit suicide in case.
No, no, absolutely not. And have you heard anything more of the French Federation or what they're going to do? Are they going to still
Well, they want you to take a test while before taking off with the airplane. 72 hours before you get there, you have to tell them when you want to arrive, and then within 72 hours before, let's say I would leave, I have to take a test and, of course, see if I am negative, you know, and then you can go. I mean, I could go, and then once I get there, the first day they test me again, and then every week, depending how long you stay, they test you again. So if someone goes for the qualifying, then he will be tested 3 times. If you go just for the 2 weeks of the main draw, then you'll be tested twice, but you have to be tested before you leave from, in my case, in Florence, in Italy.
Well,
So
you'll have to, Ubaldo, you only have 8 hours. I hope that you'll spend that time sleeping. You think about it in your sleep. But in all seriousness, I really, as a friend, I hope you're careful because I don't like what's going on over there. I'm not disappointed to miss it myself this year. I've been to every French since 1982, but I'm not unhappy about missing this one because of what's going on there.
yeah. Well, to be honest, you know, I will not be missing Rome because we were told that in Rome there is no crowd at all. So the atmosphere will be sad if you compare, you know, the normally, you know, as Bud Collins was saying all the time, British may have may have invented tennis, but Italians humanize it,
Yeah.
because he was very fond of the crowd of the Foro Italico, even if at the times of Panatta sometimes people were not behaving with enough fair play. But you know, to go to Rome, I have to be stuck in the press room with the headphones and the mask, watching the matches just on TV. Cannot talk with the players, but only through teleconference, Zoom, this kind of means. Well, it's not fun, to be honest. In Paris, at least, you can go and watch the matches on courts, and you also, there are 11 and 500,000 spectators, which will be placed in 3 different areas, and they cannot interfere. If you have a ticket for Suzanne Lenglen, you cannot go and move around and go and watch Philippe Chatrier, the new Philippe Chatrier, and vice versa. And same thing if someone goes to the court, Simone Mathieu. So they have 5,000 maximum spectators in one of the 2 stadiums, in both stadium, but each one separately. And then,
yeah. Father, you know, in my opinion, sorry to interrupt. In my opinion, they're making a mistake. I think they should have done just what Rome and the U.S. Open had done just for this year, and had no spectators, because it would be the safest way. Because look, the U.S. Open managed to pull it off. I wasn't so sure they could, but they did a very good job with the precautions they took. But part of it was having no spectators. That's just my opinion.
well,
I think
they had only one problem with Benoit Paire.
Right.
The only one. But then playing cards with the other French, who I think they couldn't leave before today or tomorrow. I think they're still there in the quarantine because they were not allowed to leave New York because of their being close to Paire, which I don't know if it was right or not. Honestly, I doubt. But
no. You bothered. A quick thing about, you mentioned Bud Collins. Just he I think, without, maybe wasn't official, but he was I considered him a dual citizen, American and Italian, because as you know, he liked to be called Collini, Bud Collini. He didn't believe in college. He felt more Italian than American.
Well, he was a great friend for Gianni Clerici, who is another, like you, Hall of Famer, and Rino Tommasi, who, in my opinion, would have deserved to be Hall of Famer too, because before the computer, if you wanted to know a real stat, well done, efficiently studied, the only one was Rino Tommasi. And I remember when Arthur Ashe said to Rino, if it wasn't for you, because of you, I would have never known how many times I lost to Rod Laver.
Yeah, well, he could have done, he would have rather not known. He would have been better off not knowing.
That's a different thing.
Rino is terrific, and it's a great Italian heritage between Rino Tommasi, Gianni Clerici, and yours truly, Ubaldo Scanagatta.
Well, I you know, it's very difficult to compare because Gianni was a great writer. Rino was a great professional journalist who knew about all sports, not just tennis. He could talk about boxing, football, really any sport. And the reason why he was called as an editor of the Italian network, sports network, was because he knew also the American sport much better than all the other Italian journalists. But anyway, not many people maybe who are listening to us. Well, in Italy, of course, they know them both very much and very well, and they were very popular. They were called a cult duo of the Italian TV,
Yeah.
because they were the first one to do commentary with two people. In Italy, before on TV, there was only one broadcaster.
Okay. All right.
And they were the first two to introduce a comment broadcasting with two people. And then after them, all the other sports imitate that. So
Well, they were. I don't speak Italian, but I can only imagine how much fun it was to listen to them, because Gianni is like a singer or a poet,
yeah.
and Reno, the mathematician, the scientist. So they're very good mix of personalities and different approach to watching the game.
Yeah, and then they were also, they had some, they were like two friends like me and you discussing a match when we are sitting next to each other at the US Open or any other tournament. We talk, we have fun, we joke. I mean, and they were doing the same thing on TV. And I remember when Gianni Clerici, for instance, watching McEnroe, who was playing unbelievable touch volleys, said, "Oh, something that would have shocked today the listeners." He said, "Oh, if I were a little more gay, I would have liked to be caressed by someone who touches the balls like him." Which was, in Italy.
Yeah.
It made everybody laugh, because
he's always had a great sense of humor, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Listen, anyway, we can say that we must also say that the USTA did a good job, to be honest, because
they did a great job, and both players gave them players gave them credit, and they deserved it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy for them to get through this, but they got through Cincinnati and the Open.
Yeah.
And very few hitches, as you said, Benoit Paire, but very few problems. And it's there to be commended. And then they let some of the USTA staff sit in the president's box, which I thought was very nice.
Yeah, I saw it tonight.
Yeah, that was a good gesture.
Yeah, and then to be the first who have to do something like that is never easy. I think now the French guys will have to show themselves that they are good also, because they have more, as you said, complication, because they will have to face also the crowd, the public, the entrance, the exits, and I don't know if there are restaurants there. I don't know if there will be a press restaurant or a players restaurant. I believe that there will be. And also that you need to prepare dishes, you need to not touch the glasses. I mean,
and you probably have to walk in with your mask.
Yeah.
And then take it off when you eat, and then put it back on again. It's not easy.
No, not easy. And then clean your hands every other minute.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, good luck with your decision, Ubaldo. I hope it works out either way.
Yes, thanks a lot. We will be in touch. Maybe I will call you also to talk about the Italian Open if you follow that.
I'll be following. I'll be watching on television. Tennis Channel is going to show. I'll be seeing.
I'll be watching too in television after more than almost half a century. I was always going to Rome since I was a boy.
Well, maybe Nadal and Djokovic. You let me know. I'm happy to talk to you anytime you want to do it.
All right. Listen, thanks a lot, and thank you very much again to my old friend, colleague, and Hall of Famer, Steve Flink. See you soon during the Italian Open. Thanks a lot for participating and covering so well the US Open, which had two good, I would say, great winners. I mean, Naomi Osaka in the ladies, Dominic Thiem finally in the men. And so it was at the end a good tournament. We saw some great matches and we enjoyed.
And two worthy champions, Ubaldo. I think people will not look back on this and only talk about the missing players. They'll realize that for Osaka, it was her third, and for Thiem, he finally came through. So they're very deserving winners.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, Steve. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Ciao, Ubaldo. Thank you.